So what is up, guys? You got your boy Jet Stingren here today, and today we are back with some Reverse 1999 content. And as you guys just see right here, the 1.2 trailer has officially gone live, which means I'm now going to be talking about Tooth Fairy because I want to talk about her like we did Monalia. We're gonna kind of go over her whole kit, give you guys some teammate suggestions, give you some general ideas, and just kind of give you some ideas about what you should do about Tooth Fairy, and notably if you should pull her or not. So anyway, let's get right into it. So first things first is going to look at Tooth Fairy. We are here on the print win page to look at Tooth Fairy. So let's go ahead and talk about Tooth Fairy, right? Tooth Fairy is, well, a very good character. Understandably, very so. I know a lot of people have been hyping up Tooth Fairy since literally the dawn of the game's release, but we are now approaching her release in just a mere 6 more days. I'm personally very excited for Tooth Fairy myself. I will be doing pulls on this channel when she releases because I will be on vacation from work, so that is going to be fan-freaking-tastic. I should not miss it unless, you know, my house burns down or something tragic or anything happens like that. But anyway, let's go and talk about Tooth Fairy. Let's get out of the way. So anyway, Tooth Fairy is a 6-star mental star character who focuses on healing. She also has the ability to dispel debuffs under a special condition, and she can debuff targets with a confusion debuff, which is a fairly common thing amongst star characters. Anyway, let's talk about it. So let's talk about her first skill, which is the ultimate, which is called Bad Tooth. It is a 1 target attack for 500% of damage. This enjoys 30% crit rate, means it has a higher chance to deal crits, and it purifies all targets of any status, negative statuses, or control statuses when she stores a crit. Now, this ultimate is very powerful under a very specific case, and that is if she scores a crit. Now, I want you guys to really say that this is not as big of a deal as some people have made this out to be. I've seen a few people talk about this as this is a negative about Tooth Fairy. Yes, it is RNG dependent. Yes, there's going to be key opportunities where you cast the ult and she may not be able to purify, but she does have chances to improve her odds, and that is at least enough for me to give her a passing grade on this. She has the ability to, 1, lower critical defense off of her own unique debuff. We'll talk about that for a moment. She has a confusion debuff, which again stacks on top of that, and she has cube support, meaning she can put on a card that can give her increased critical chance, and there is one perfect one that I will be recommending in this video. So she has chances to get more crits. She does have the ability to get a little bit more up there. So for all intents and purposes, you can get fairly good chances. There is still no guaranteed way to really do this. Even if you run it with certain characters, you can't really get a guaranteed crit. That's just kind of the name of the drum here. You can't really get a guaranteed crit because of the attacks only base 30% chance. This combined with her own stats, this combined with any critical amplifiers you can put on, that's about the best that you can do. You can only get it so high to it to then crit, right? And if you miss the crit, you miss the crit. That's just the unfortunate reality of it. But at least you have a decent chance, which is why I'm gonna say it's still a decently great ult, because being able to purify all allies with your ult, I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good too. So there's that. Next up is going to be her debuff, which is called Empty Gums. It is a max of 450% mental damage, and it gets 1 stack of confusion. Now, this card is actually very good. The reason why this card is very good because it gives you a stack of confusion on just its tier 1, which is very pivotal because that means you can set up on just the first copy of this card. Typically, what you want to do with her, if you're at ultimate, you can tier 1 with this card, get that confusion debuff alongside the insights that you have with her, which again will help. I'll talk about that when we get to her insight section. And then hope you get the crit with her ultimate. That's typically how you want to do it. Of course, when you are trying to build up to your Tooth Fairy ult, the main thing you just want to focus on is either spreading that debuff, because this is only a 1 target attack. So you want to put it on like an enemy that you want to help pressure down a little bit more, kind of soften up for like a big burst, and heal whenever necessary. That's basically the whole thing about Tooth Fairy, is you slowly build your way up to that ultimate. You make sure it's set up wonderfully, and then you put that empty gums on the enemy for the confusion effect. You pop your ultimate, and then boom. That's just how you Tooth Fairy. That's just how you do it. So Next up is going to be Lullaby, which is her healing card, and this is of course the card that makes her really good. Anyway, let's talk about it. So for her card, it is a mass heal, which heals all allies based on 200% or max of 200% of her own max HP, and it enjoys a 30% critical hit rate, which means critical rate, which means it can heal more, which is good. That's a really good thing about her healing, is that it has a critical rate heal built into it, meaning it can heal for a stronger amount. That does mean she can easily top off teams, because this is all available on Jesty. Let me say it again, the tier 1 version of the card. She's able to get a good enough crit rate. She can actually get some really spicy heals off. This is attack times 80% of heal, attack times 120% of HP, and attack times 200% of HP. These are pretty good numbers, especially the tier 3. But ideally, tier 2 is definitely going to be enough to keep your team sustained, especially with the insights that she does get later on. So there's that. Speaking of insights, let's go on and talk about them. So her insight 1, which is called Baby Tooth Collector. Whenever she enters the battle, she gets 3 stacks of Baby Tooth. Whenever an ally actively casts a skill, she would gain 1 stack of Baby Tooth, and when the round begins, you would spend 5 Baby Tooth stacks to reduce all enemies' critical defense and critical resist rate by 15%. This lasts for 1 round and cannot be triggered as there are not enough stacks of Baby Tooth. This is a very, very powerful insight 1, because not only is this giving you critical resist down to critical rate, meaning your teammates can hit harder if they're able to crit. There are a few members who actually do have built-in increased crit rate that are not starred, and I'm actually going to be recommending, so there you go. But that's also a really, really good way to help amplify the damage. And for certain things that you can do, if we even are looking to wail a little bit more, might just make this insight a little bit more busted. But this is a pretty good insight 1. Obviously, you're gonna want to get her pass up to insight 1. You're not gonna use a character at just level 30. Am I right? So there's that. Insight level 2, very simple. She gets 10% more healing effect. That's really good. That means she can heal a little bit more healthy, heal a little bit more consistently. That's good for survivability. That's good for, just keeping yourself topped up. That's all that really does. It just helps topping you off. So nothing really to explain there. Insight 3. Now this is where it gets a little bit better. So Insight 3. When a stat debuff effect of Baby Tooth is triggered, which meaning that when the start of a round happens and she debuffs the critical resist and critical defense down, upon that effect being triggered, she will heal allies based on 10% of HP lost, giving you a effective second heal at the start of the turn, which is pretty good. That's really good, because that could put you in a situation where you do not maybe need to grab a heal card for her, or you can use this as an opportunity to again recover a little bit more, because that way you can again stay topped up, you can again stay healthy, you can again feel comfortable about sucking up the next hits when you use her with another character. So very good. This is a very good insight. And upon entering the battle, she will gain 2 additional stacks of Baby Tooth. This is also very good, because that means basically at turn 2, she will always be able to use the turn 1 of Baby Tooth. I mean, she technically already had it at Insight 1, because basically it triggers whenever an ally takes a skill. So, I mean, you were going to get the 5 stacks of Baby Tooth anyway, because you start with 3. So, you know what I mean? Like, that part is okay, because you essentially already were going to get the 5 stacks of Baby Tooth. But the best part is just the extra healing. I think that's what makes the i3 stand out the most, is just the extra healing. That's it. But if you want my honest recommendation, I would say i2 level 50 is perfectly fine for most form of content right now. You can, of course, push to i3 level 20, maybe level 30 if you really feel like you need that extra healing. I would say it just, any extra form of survivability is always valid in my book. So if you are looking for more form of survivability, this is not a bad approach at all. I do think i3 level 20, level 30 is definitely fine. Get her up to like Resonance maybe 7 or 9, and then you should be good to go for her to be like at least be consistent for what she needs to do for in terms of her being a solid healer. So here's that. Next up is going to be her portrait. Now her portrait for the wailing people. Now for the people that want to spend money, I do think i2 is the best place to stop, and i2 actually makes her pretty disgusting. So i2, what it does here, which is this little thing right here, the critical resist and critical reduction effects will last from 1 extra turn from Baby Tooth. This basically means This basically means that you will then be able to loop her baby tooth effect. Now, if you are playing pretty much I2 or yeah I2 Two Fairy, right? If you're playing I2 Two Fairy and she's in your team, you can effectively get this looped because at the start of your second turn, your baby tooth will go off, right? Which means you have 2 turns to build up yet another 5 stacks of baby tooth, which upon an ally taking an action, that's a stack of baby tooth. So three AP means 3 actions, which means 3 stacks of baby tooth. That very next turn after, you get another 2 from an ally, and then guess what? That next stack, you got the 5 stacks of baby tooth. While that debuff is about to expire, another stack of baby tooth gets triggered, which means the debuff gets replaced onto the enemy. And this is an all enemy debuff. This is just random RNG. It's all enemies. That's really good. This also really does help with proccing of her ultimate as well. So that's a really good bonus right there. That's a really good bonus. Now of course this does depend. This does depend if you rely on allies instead of Two Fairy herself, because it says on ally. Remember, it does not say ally and self. It says ally. So this means you have to use ally actions to get the stacks of Two Fairy for her. But she herself doesn't give the stacks of Two Fairy, I believe. So that's generally how that goes there. But anyway, here's that. So next thing we're going to talk about is her recommended cubes. The first one is going to be none other than this one right here, which is Beyond Wonderland. This is the cube that you can get from the the 1.2 event shop. I don't know, I said I2 Labao. But anyway, the 1.2 event shop, you can get this one. This is a really good card for her. Really good card. I mean, obviously it's meant for her. This is basically her BIS card, or BIS cube, so to speak. But anyway, this is what it does. So what it does is Rare's own healing rate is increased by 3%, which is very good because that means it keeps the heals more consistent after using a help skill, which stacks up to 4 times for a maximum of 12% of healing rate up, and Rare's crit chance is increased by 7%. Now we already talked about earlier how she wants more additional chances to crit. Now if you're able to level 5 this card, which, you know, if you really want to maximize your chances of trying to crit with that ultimate, if you really feel like you need it, or you really just, you know, you're gonna use Two Fairy everywhere you go, which most people do, let's just be honest. Like, she's a very potent healer, so you could take this to level 5 if you wanted to. But I don't know. I don't know if I would personally. If you ask me, I'm kind of like, I don't know. It depends. I think I would really love for my DPS cards to go first before I put into a support first, if anything. So even if you are spending for this, or even if you are trying to push for a level 5 of a card, I think DPSs go first, so that way you have the firepower to take down the content. So there's that. But anyway, these are what the stats give. Pretty healthy stats overall. A lot of HP and 2600. It also gives her another additional 16% max HP, which stacks on top of this and her base HP, which can really make her a little bit healthy. This is really good because she is a bit frail. One of the biggest complaints I've seen about Two Fairy is that she can be a bit squishy. So you definitely want to prepare for that. It's very easy to kind of put her next to a support that can actually reduce damage taken, or something like sturdiness, or something like Sonato or Anali, for example, or also increasing your power. So there's things you can do to actually help her survive. But, you know, just a little bit of a tidbit out there. She is a little bit on the squishier side, so there's that. Next up is going to be that Inquisitive Deer. That is another card that you can get from the shop after you get 210 of the tokens. This is a pretty good one because this one increases your healing done by 18%, which is really good. Similar stats to the other card, a little bit more balance on the mental and reality defenses there. But what this card does is whenever you cast a basic incantation debuff, which she does have a debuff, remember it is right here, this is a debuff that will give you a extra heal on the lowest target ally. This is really good because there could be a situation where you may not be able to have wiggle room to cast a heal, which you should be able to. You should be able to cast a heal. You have 3 AP to do 3 cards, so you do have wiggle room. But this is also a really good way to top off a potentially weakened ally, because you can pop this first, then go into your heal, That way they can get a little bit more sustainability and get a little bit more healthy. So that could be potentially be a thing. So there's that. So let's talk about worthy competitors to her. First things first is going to be Medicine Pocket. Medicine Pocket and Tooth Fairy are distinctively two different healers. Distinctively. Both of them both have mass healing, but both of them specialize in one thing as opposed to the other. One thing that she has is she has the ability to get more moxie. She can also daze a target. She can also give sturdiness, which helps with sustainability. She also does a damage taking effect. I would only say Medicine Pocket is good in terms of helping others effectively deal a little bit more damage for your team, while Tooth Fairy is a little bit more sustainable. Yes, Tooth Fairy does have the ability to give you crit chance, which again is effectively a damage boost, but that's only on a single target basis. But Medicine Pocket and Tooth Fairy are vastly different. It was kind of hard for me to put her here, but this is the only other 6-star healer that we have that kind of, you know, wants to do one thing while helping out, emphasizing on the other. Obviously, the extra damage taken is his own additive debuff that you can put on top of other things like reality, mental defense downs, and stuff like that. So that's a thing. But there is one thing that makes Tooth Fairy actually shine over Medicine Pocket, and that is the ability to heal. Now, as I said before, Medicine Pocket's healing is about the same as Tooth Fairy, right? But Tooth Fairy again has a chance to critical heal, which means it's stronger than this if the crit does go off. Also, the healing rate of Tooth Fairy is actually a lot better. So in terms of the overall healer, I would definitely say Tooth Fairy is actually a better healer. But when it comes to supporting the team, maybe I would say Medicine Pocket is a little bit better. But if you're looking for someone for your definitive healer slot because you already have your support slot filled up with someone like Anali or Sonato or anything of that regard, or Pickles or anything, I would just say go Tooth Fairy. Go Tooth Fairy because they're giving you what you need already. So therefore it's just fine. But if you're missing that sustainability and you need it, and you may not feel like you need the critical resist down and stuff from Tooth Fairy, then you could go Medicine Pocket. But I would say the two of them together are pretty consistent in terms of healers. Like, I really can't say one's better than the other as a direct unit, but I can say that Tooth Fairy is at least a better healer than Medicine Pocket. But that's all I can ever say. In terms of like units together, like does she one directly beat the other? No. It's just what you would personally prefer for that form of the content. So yeah, but that's really the only character that really does compare up to Tooth Fairy. Honestly, there's not too many other healers that is out there. So next up is going to be some helpful partners, kind of giving you guys like a team recommendation here. But first things first is going to be none other than Voyager. Voyager is easily one of her best partners because this one gives you sturdiness, which is very good. She also is the only star unit who can inflict AoE stacks of confusion. This is good. Now it's not an AoE like all enemy, but it's a 2 enemy attack AoE that can give you a stack of confusion, and it also gives up to 2. Unfortunately, she has to be up to tier 2. That's the thing. She has to be up to tier 2 for the minimum 1 stack of confusion to stick, but it at least gives you more opportunities to get confusion. This gives you more flexibility in choosing your option, so there's that. And it's also a way to stack up confusion, which is not bad at all. It's a little bit more of a reason to stack it up. And she also has the ability to put up to 2 on an enemy, which is again better chances for positioning. She can also drain Moxie, which can also help, which, you know, there's a lot of things that she can really do. But as I said before, she gives Interstand and Blessing, which is basically just a follow-up. But she also has the sturdiness, which of course does help Tooth Fairy stay sustainable. They're also same type, but there's no really bonuses for running the same type of character. It's just personal preference. Next up is going to be Lilia. Lilia, yeah, another one here. The reason why Lilia is so good because of how much she can really crit, and of course she needs a person who can help debuff crit. That's all she needs, is a person who can help debuff crit. She already has an abundance of critical rate from her own. As you can see, critical rate plus 20% plus 30%, and the cube's physical crit rate bonus is up by 100%. And if you get her up to about I9, I believe, in resonance, and I3, then she can crit pretty consistently, and of course using partners like Two Fairy, using partners like Voyager will allow her to be able to crit all the time. So there's that. Let's talk about some outside options that's not star related. Another good option is actually Eagle. I know this is a bit of a funny choice, but the reason why Eagle's here is because she actually does have a lot of chances to really use excess crit rate. So being able to crit herself, she can actually hit fairly hard. So that's a really thing. She also has a crit damage boost of I2, so you could actually kind of maneuver this for her. Now I wouldn't not recommend running Two Fairy with someone who has to crit. Honestly, it's just the thing that's just like kind of combine up the effects of what she does, because even normal units can be ran with Two Fairy because she is the healer of the team. So this is just if you really wanted to focus on, you know, the critical focus thing. Another good character you can definitely run with her is none other than Centurion. Centurion is still very good. She's obviously one of the better base DPS units in the game. So yeah, it's also really good because she has a built-in critical 10% crit rate, which is not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's an option. It's most definitely an option. So that's just that. But should I tell you to pull Two Fairy? Yes, you should. We should not be having this conversation right about now. Like, go pull Two Fairy now. Like, of course, when she comes out in 6 days, that's what I meant to say. But pull her in 6 days. She's very good. She's a very good healer. She's definitely going to be the healer that you're going to put on all your teams, because she's got a lot going for her. She's pretty much the strongest healer we have. She's going to be the strongest healer for quite some time. So, but yeah, but that's all I have to say about Two Fairy. Long story short, yes, she's 100% worth the pull. She's 100% worth the resources, and she is very good. So this has been your boy Jet Stingren. See you guys next time. Peace.